Captain Jane Mitchell stood on the bridge of the USS Resolute Asterisk, staring out at the vast expanse of space. The stars glittered like diamonds against the black velvet backdrop, a stark reminder of the boundless universe. Jane sighed, reflecting on humanity's journey from its war-torn past to its current state as reluctant masters of warfare. Humanity had come a long way. Centuries ago, they were known for their relentless pursuit of power, conquering and waging wars across the galaxy. But after countless conflicts and untold destruction, a shift occurred. Humans grew weary of war and began valuing peace and diplomacy. The development of superior military technology made them unrivaled, yet they chose restraint, using their power as a deterrent rather than a weapon. Jane, a seasoned military officer, embodied this new philosophy. She had seen her share of battles, but preferred the quiet moments of diplomacy that followed. Today, however, was different. She felt a familiar tension in the air, a sign that peace might soon be disrupted. Her thoughts were interrupted by Commander Alex Turner, her second-in-command. "Captain, we've received a priority message from Command. They're calling an emergency meeting of all senior officers." Jane nodded, her brow furrowing. "What's the situation, Alex?" "It's the Xelarians," Alex replied. "They've started expanding aggressively near our borders. Command fears this might escalate into a full-blown conflict." Jane's heart sank. The Xelarians were a mysterious alien species, known for their territorial ambitions and ruthless tactics. She had hoped never to cross paths with them, but it seemed fate had other plans. "Prepare a shuttle," Jane ordered. "We're heading to Command, and Alex, make sure the crew is on high alert. We need to be ready for anything." As they traveled to the command center, Jane couldn't help but think about the delicate balance they were trying to maintain. Humanity's military might was a double-edged sword. It ensured peace, but also posed a constant temptation to use it. She knew that one wrong move could tip the scales into chaos. At the command center, Jane joined a room filled with senior officers and diplomats. The atmosphere was tense, everyone aware of the gravity of the situation. Admiral Harris, a stern-faced veteran, stood at the head of the table. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on such short notice," Admiral Harris began. "The Xelarians have been making aggressive moves near our space. We've tried to reach out diplomatically, but they've been unresponsive. Our intelligence suggests they might be preparing for war." A murmur of concern rippled through the room. Jane exchanged a worried glance with Alex. "We need to decide our next course of action," Admiral Harris continued. "We can't afford to be caught off guard. Captain Mitchell, you have experience with the Xelarians. What's your assessment?" Jane took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "The Xelarians are unpredictable and fiercely protective of their territory. They value strength and might interpret our diplomatic overtures as weakness. We need to approach this carefully, balancing firmness with diplomacy." Admiral Harris nodded. "Agreed. We'll continue our diplomatic efforts, but we must also prepare for the possibility of conflict. Captain Mitchell, I want you to lead a delegation to negotiate with the Xelarians. You're our best hope for avoiding war." Jane accepted the mission with a mix of pride and apprehension. She knew the stakes were high and that failure could lead to devastation. As she prepared for the journey, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. Returning to the USS Resolute Asterisk, Jane briefed her crew on the situation. "We're heading into uncertain territory," she told them. "Our goal is to maintain peace, but we must be ready for anything. Trust in your training and in each other. We'll get through this." The crew nodded, their faces reflecting a mix of determination and anxiety. Jane could see they shared her reluctance to use their formidable power, but understood the necessity of their mission. As the USS Resolute Asterisk set course for Xelarian space, Jane stood once more on the bridge, staring out at the stars. She knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she was determined to navigate it with the wisdom and restraint that defined humanity's new era. The fate of peace rested on their shoulders, and she was resolved not to let it slip away. The USS Resolute Asterisk glided through the void, its engines humming softly. Captain Jane Mitchell stood on the bridge, her mind racing with thoughts of the upcoming negotiations. She knew the Xelarians were a formidable and enigmatic species, and the success of this mission rested heavily on her shoulders. "Captain, we're approaching Xelarian space," Commander Alex Turner reported, breaking Jane's reverie. "Prepare to drop out of warp," Jane ordered, "and signal our arrival to the Xelarian authorities." The stars stretched and then snapped back into focus as the Resolute exited warp. Before them lay the imposing sight of a Xelarian battle station bristling with weaponry. It was a clear show of force, a reminder of the stakes at play. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Xelarians," Lieutenant Sarah Kim said from her communications console. "On screen," Jane replied. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a Xelarian commander. His reptilian features were stern, his eyes cold and calculating. "This is Commander Valtor of the Xelarian Defense Fleet. State your business, human." Jane stepped forward, maintaining a calm demeanor. "I am Captain Jane Mitchell of the USS Resolute *. We seek a diplomatic audience with your leaders to discuss recent territorial expansions and to prevent any misunderstandings that could lead to conflict." Valtor's eyes narrowed. "Your presence here is provocative, Captain. We do not respond well to threats." "This is not a threat, Commander," Jane said firmly. "We come in peace, but we are prepared to defend our territory if necessary. Diplomacy is in the best interest of both our species." There was a tense pause before Valtor nodded curtly. "Very well, Captain. You may proceed to the designated coordinates. Our leaders will receive you." The transmission ended, and Jane exhaled slowly. "Set course for the coordinates. Let's hope this meeting is productive." As they approached the Xelarian capital ship, Jane briefed her delegation. "We need to project strength, but also a willingness to find common ground. The Xelarians respect power, but they also need to understand that peace benefits us all." The delegation, including Alex and a few experienced diplomats, nodded in agreement. They boarded a shuttle and headed towards the Xelarian ship. The docking process was smooth but heavily guarded, with Xelarian soldiers watching their every move. Inside the Xelarian ship, they were led to a grand chamber where high-ranking Xelarians awaited. The air was thick with tension as Jane and her team took their seats opposite their alien counterparts. The Xelarian leader, a dignified figure named High Counselor Xelar, began the proceedings. "Captain Mitchell, we have received your message. Explain why we should not see your presence here as an act of aggression." Jane met Xelar's gaze steadily. "We are here because we value peace. Our recent expansion concerns us, and we seek to understand your intentions. We believe that through dialogue we can avoid unnecessary conflict and find solutions that benefit both our peoples." Xelar's expression was unreadable. "You speak of peace, yet your ship is armed with weapons capable of great destruction. Why should we trust you?" Jane leaned forward slightly. "Because we understand the cost of war. Humanity has learned that true strength lies not in domination but in cooperation. We are prepared to defend ourselves, but we much prefer to work together to ensure mutual prosperity." There was a murmur among the Xelarian leaders. Jane could sense the skepticism, but also a glimmer of curiosity. One of the Xelarians, a military advisor named Zarak, spoke up. "We have expanded because our resources are dwindling. Our people are suffering. What can you offer us that would make us consider halting our expansion?" Jane saw an opportunity. "We can offer trade agreements, technology exchange, and humanitarian aid. Together, we can address your resource shortages without resorting to conflict. Let us help you, and in return, we can ensure a stable and peaceful coexistence." The room fell silent as the Xelarians deliberated. Jane held her breath, hoping her words had struck a chord. Finally, High Counselor Xelar spoke again. "Your proposal is intriguing, Captain Mitchell. We will consider it. In the meantime, we will agree to a temporary ceasefire while we discuss these terms further. Let this be the beginning of a new chapter between our species." Jane nodded, relief washing over her. "Thank you, High Counselor. We look forward to building a lasting peace." As they returned to the Resolute *, Jane felt a mix of hope and apprehension. The path to peace was far from certain, but they had taken the first step. Now it was up to both sides to nurture this fragile opportunity and turn it into a lasting reality. Captain Jane Mitchell stood in the briefing room of the USS Resolute *, surrounded by her team. The mood was cautious but hopeful after the initial meeting with the Xelarians. High Counselor Zayler's agreement to a temporary ceasefire was a positive sign, but much work remained. "All right, team," Jane began. "Our goal is to secure a lasting peace agreement with the Xelarians. We'll need to address their resource shortages and establish trust. Sarah, get in touch with our supply experts. I want a detailed proposal on what resources we can offer." Lieutenant Sarah Kim nodded. "Yes, Captain. I'll have a report ready by tomorrow." "Alex, coordinate with our tech team. See what technology we can safely share without compromising our security," Jane continued. "On it, Captain," Commander Alex Turner replied. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Jane remained behind, contemplating their next steps. The Xelarians were a proud species, and winning their trust would not be easy. She decided to consult with Dr. Ilara Morin, the ship's cultural advisor and xenologist, for insights into Xelarian society. Later, in Dr. Morin's office, Jane explained the situation. "We need to understand the Xelarians better if we're going to negotiate effectively. What can you tell me about their culture and values?" Dr. Morin leaned back in her chair, thoughtful. "The Xelarians are fiercely independent and value strength above all. They have a strong sense of honor and loyalty to their clans. Any sign of weakness is seen as an invitation to be dominated. However, they also have a deep respect for those who show strength through wisdom and fairness." Jane nodded. "So we need to approach them as equals, showing that we respect their power while offering them a mutually beneficial alliance." "Exactly," Dr. Morin agreed. "If we can demonstrate that our proposal will strengthen their position and benefit their people, we have a chance." With this new understanding, Jane felt more prepared. She returned to the bridge, where her team was hard at work. They spent the next few days refining their proposals and preparing for the next round of negotiations. The day of the second meeting arrived. Jane, Alex, and Sarah boarded the shuttle and returned to the Xelarian capital ship. This time the atmosphere felt slightly less tense, a small but hopeful sign. High Counselor Zayler greeted them in the same grand chamber. "Welcome back, Captain Mitchell. We have considered your initial proposal. Now we wish to hear more details." Jane presented their plan, outlining the resources and technology they could offer. "We believe these measures will address your immediate needs and lay the groundwork for a more extensive trade agreement. In return, we ask for a commitment to cease territorial expansion and engage in joint security measures to ensure stability in the region." Zayler listened intently, occasionally conferring with his advisors. "Your offer is generous, Captain. But how can we be sure that your aid will not come with hidden strings attached?" Jane had anticipated this question. "We propose establishing a joint oversight committee with representatives from both our species to manage the distribution of resources and technology. This ensures transparency and fairness." There was a murmur of approval from some of the Xelarians. Jane sensed that they were warming to the idea but still had reservations. Zarek, the military advisor, spoke up. "And what of our defenses? If we cease our expansion, we need assurances that we will not be left vulnerable." Jane nodded. "We understand your concerns. We propose joint military exercises and intelligence sharing to strengthen our mutual defenses. Together, we can deter any external threats." The room fell silent as the Xelarians deliberated. Jane's heart pounded in her chest, hoping they would accept the proposal. Finally, High Counselor Zayler turned to her. "Captain Mitchell, your offer shows wisdom and respect. We are willing to proceed with these terms, but we require a trial period to ensure that this alliance is beneficial. During this time, we will closely monitor the outcomes and reassess as necessary." Jane breathed a sigh of relief. "That is acceptable, High Counselor. We look forward to proving our commitment to peace and cooperation." With the framework of an agreement in place, Jane and her team returned to the Resolute. The journey back was filled with cautious optimism. They had made significant progress, but Jane knew the trial period would be critical. Back on the ship, Jane addressed her crew. "We've taken an important step towards peace, but our work is far from over. We must ensure that our actions match our words and build a foundation of trust with the Xelarians. Let's give it our all." The crew responded with a resounding affirmation. Jane felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The path to peace was challenging, but with every step forward it became a little clearer. They were not just the masters of warfare. They were now striving to be the masters of peace. The USS Resolute patrolled the border of Xelarian space, its crew on high alert. The trial period of the agreement had begun, and although the initial meetings had gone well, tensions remained high. Captain Jane Mitchell knew that any misstep could lead to conflict. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal from one of our outposts near the Xelarian border," Lieutenant Sarah Kim reported. "They're under attack." Jane's heart skipped a beat. On screen. The view screen showed a chaotic scene, Xelarian ships firing on the human outpost. The defensive systems of the outpost were struggling to hold them off. "Commander Turner, get us there at maximum warp," Jane ordered. "Prepare to deploy defensive measures. We need to stop this before it escalates." The Resolute jumped to warp, racing towards the besieged outpost. Jane clenched her fists, knowing that this skirmish could undo all their hard-earned progress. "Drop out of warp and engage the Xelarian ships," Jane commanded as they neared the outpost. The Resolute emerged from warp, its weapon systems locking onto the Xelarian attackers. Phasers and torpedoes fired in a precise, controlled manner, disabling the enemy ships without destroying them. "Open a channel to the Xelarian commander," Jane said. A tense moment passed before the face of Commander Valtor appeared on the screen. "Captain Mitchell, explain this aggression." "Commander Valtor, we received a distress signal from our outpost being attacked by your ships," Jane replied, struggling to keep her voice calm. "We're here to stop the violence and find out why this happened." Valtor's eyes narrowed. "This outpost was established on what we consider our territory. Your presence here is a provocation." Jane took a deep breath. "Commander, we've been negotiating in good faith to avoid conflicts like this. Let's not let this incident spiral out of control. We need to de-escalate and discuss this peacefully." Valtor seemed to consider her words, his expression hard to read. Finally, he gave a curt nod. "Very well, Captain. We will cease fire and withdraw our forces for now, but this issue is far from resolved." The transmission ended, and Jane turned to her crew. "Secure the outpost and assess the damage. I want a full report on what happened here." As the crew worked, Jane felt a mix of relief and frustration. They had avoided a full-scale battle, but the underlying tensions were far from settled. Later, in a conference with her senior staff, Jane reviewed the situation. "It seems the Xelarians still believe our outposts are encroaching on their territory. We need to clarify our borders and ensure both sides understand and respect them." Dr. Ilara Morin, the ship's cultural advisor, chimed in. "This could be an opportunity to strengthen our diplomatic channels. If we can bring both sides together to negotiate these border issues, it might build trust." Jane nodded. "Agreed. We'll request a meeting with High Counselor Xelar to address this. In the meantime, we need to remain vigilant. The slightest misunderstanding could reignite hostilities." The next few days were tense as both sides prepared for the meeting. Jane could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her, knowing that the future of their fragile peace depended on these negotiations. When the day arrived, Jane and her delegation once again boarded a shuttle to the Xelarian capital ship. This time, the atmosphere was even more charged, with both sides aware of how close they had come to war. High Counselor Xelor and his advisors awaited them in the Grand Chamber. "Captain Mitchell, your actions in defending your outpost were understandable, but they have complicated our relations. We must find a way to resolve this territorial dispute." Jane took a deep breath. "High Counselor, we propose a joint committee to survey and clearly demarcate our borders. This will ensure both sides understand and respect territorial boundaries. We also suggest establishing communication outposts to facilitate quick resolution of any future misunderstandings." Xelar's eyes flickered with interest. "A joint committee could work, provided it operates with full transparency and equal representation from both our species." Jane nodded. "Absolutely. We want this to be a cooperative effort, demonstrating our commitment to peace and mutual respect." The room was silent as the Xelarians deliberated. Jane held her breath, hoping they would see the merit in her proposal. Finally, Xelar turned to her. "Very well, Captain Mitchell. We will participate in this joint committee. Let this be the beginning of a new chapter in our relations." Jane exhaled in relief. Thank you, High Counselor. We look forward to working together to ensure a lasting peace. As they returned to the Resolute Asterisk, Jane felt cautiously optimistic. The road to peace was proving to be rocky, but each step forward brought them closer to a stable, cooperative future. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, but with determination and diplomacy, they could overcome them. Back on the ship, Jane addressed her crew. We've made progress, but we must remain vigilant and committed to our mission of peace. Together, we can navigate these challenges and build a brighter future for both our species. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this epic adventure, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more exciting sci-fi stories. Don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts and theories. We love hearing from you. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us keep creating amazing content. Thanks again, and stay tuned for more incredible journeys through the stars.